welcome to Doors and Corners, a sci-fi and fantasy film commentary podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach. And every Friday we sit down and watch a science fiction or fantasy film and give our 2 cents on its quality, production, story, and trivia.
We watch the film together, but without sounds or visuals provided to avoid copyright issues. But if you do have access, we encourage you to join us and follow along.
Here, we like to keep things casual, and there may be discussions of spoilers or sensitive materials or language. But we do try and keep things clean and family-friendly. Ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create the experience of us all sitting down and watching this movie together.
So get ready to hit that play button, because we're about to get started.
Damn Doors and Corners, I mean, that's where they get you.
Welcome back to Doors and Corners. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach.
And tonight we are continuing our journey through Middle-earth.
Yes, indeed. It is going to be with The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers Extended Edition Part 1. And you may notice that in speaking of journeys, that Brian may sound a little bit different tonight because he himself is on the road journeying.
Yes.
Just like the Fellowship.
Troubleshooting and technical difficulties included, but we are here. We are looking forward to this. This is a fantastic movie. Looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm. It is technically based on the book by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. However, it, for one, doesn't follow the book super closely. Like, the first movie is the one that follows the book the closest. And it almost wasn't even named The Two Towers. Did you know that?
Well, I know that Tolkien, he struggled the most with naming, maybe not struggled the most. I know that he had no problem with Fellowship of the Ring. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but he never officially confirmed definitively which 2 towers. Like, depending on what interview you read from him, it could be a couple different set of towers, right?
Well, and not really. Like, he was asked about it, but he pretty much said that it was meant to be Orthanc, otherwise referred to as Isengard, and the Tower of Cirith Ungol. Which, spoilers, we don't even get to the Tower of Cirith Ungol in this movie. It doesn't pop up until the 3rd movie.
See, well,
actually, I'm also kind of wrong on that because Cirith Ungol is technically the name of like the cave and the pass. The Tower of Cirith Ungol was like a fortress that was technically known as like Cirith Dúchan, or Duith. I think it might be pronounced. I've read it. I've never listened to it.
But that's not where the Witch King comes from, right? That's Minas Morgul?
No, that's Minas Morgul.
Minas Morgul. Okay.
But so there's like 3 towers through this whole book. And they pass by Cirith Ungol. Minas Morgul. But it's not like a big part of the story, whereas the Tower of Cirith Ungol is very important to the story.
See, I feel a little bit dumb because I've read these books many times, but it's been long enough that because where the fortress where they climbed up the stairs at the beginning of Return of the King in the film, I thought that was Minas Morgul.
Minas Morgul.
Okay, that's a tower, right?
Yeah, but it is a tower, kind of like a Minas Tirith.
Yeah.
So it's a city,
just
as much as it is a...
Because I've heard people speculate that it could be talking about Minas Tirith also as one of the towers.
Minas Tirith, they don't really go to Minas Tirith in this book at all.
I know. But that's where I was just last week. I was rewatching a bunch of the appendices on the special edition, and they had a whole section where they were talking about different interviews with Tolkien that had different possible answers, including all of these, which I thought was amusing. So,
I admit that I haven't watched all of the interviews with Tolkien, but in my opinion, it's pretty definitive which 2 towers they're talking about because both of them end dealing with these 2 specific towers: the Tower of Cirith Ungol and the Isengard, which Isengard is more like a place than a specific tower. The tower itself is called Orthanc.
Yeah, Orthanc.
So Orthanc and Cirith Ungol.
And it makes sense there because you have the the attack on Helm's Deep comes from Orthanc. So I mean that makes sense.
while at the same time, this movie, the way that they wrote the trilogy of films, they had to completely remove Cirith Ungol from this movie. So they're sitting there going, how exactly do we name this movie The Two Towers when there's only a tower?
Yeah.
More than that, though, is that this was in post-production when the attack, the 9/11 attack happened, in which, very famously, the Twin Towers were destroyed. So they were very strongly considering just not even changing the name of this movie so that it wasn't The Two Towers.
Yeah, it's just
And
I'm so glad they didn't.
They stuck with it.
Yeah, well, it's
Mhm.
one of those things where one, if you're making a trilogy of films after a trilogy of books, you just got to name the same thing. I think that you can make changes, you can adapt them. I'm not, but keep the title the same. This movie came out in, was it Christmas of 2020, 2002? So it was
Mhm.
over a year removed, which, yeah, things were still pretty, pretty emotional in the country, but it was far enough along. And the spirit of it is still there, and I just, it would have been a tragedy if they had tried. I mean, I can imagine Lord of the Rings fans just being like, you are gonna literally name your middle film something different. that that would almost be worse than changing than certain adaptations, in my opinion.
Mhm. Well, a number of the considered title changes for this come straight from Tolkien himself in his letters. He actually refers to the book The Two Towers several times because each of the books is made up of smaller books,
Yeah.
right? So, like book one, it follows Merry, Pippin, Aragorn. Book two follows Sam and Frodo.
Yeah.
And
Can you imagine if they'd
that
shot
also
this movie
helps
like that?
making the
Sorry.
oh my god, right?
Because if they,
Um,
well, not shot it, but structured it that way, because they actually did shoot it like that way. I mean, obviously they were shooting them separately, but man, that's like,
yeah.
go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Go for it.
Oh, it's just Tolkien referred to this the first half or first 2/3 more like of the Two Towers as the treason of Isengard. So he some versions of the book that consider themselves like older unfinished versions or whatnot have the second book of the trilogy called the Treason of Isengard, and
Yeah.
they thought about changing it to the Treason of Isengard, but they weren't sure because other things in Tolkien's letters that he refers to is the Ring in the Shadow as a potential title, and the ring goes east, and the shadow lengthens, and it's just awful, awful
Yeah.
titles.
Yeah. The Two Towers
One
is
of my favorite authors.
go for it.
Oh, one of my favorite authors, Robert Jordan, actually has author of the Wheel of Time series, which takes a lot from the Lord of the Rings, like straight up. A lot of people see him as almost the next direct successor in terms of writing big, successful fantasy. Next to like the Shannara Chronicles, which were just blatant rip-offs of the Lord of the Rings at first. Just substitute the ring for a sword. But Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, the fourth book is called The Shadow Rises, and he, in one of his interviews, said that he took that directly from the alternate title, The Shadow Lengthens, for the Two Towers.
Yeah. No, I mean, granted, I'm biased because it's just always been that in my mind. But I think The Two Towers is not only just a good book title, like it's just a solid title. It's, and the fact it's a little bit ambiguous, it kind of works for me. Uh,
Mm.
because it just, if you dig into it, there are possibilities, even though there's definitely, more likely versus less likely. But I've I've just always liked it. And this is, middle stories are hard to do. I mean, it's,
Mm.
when they're good, they're exceptional. But one of the interviews with Peter Jackson, he said that right off the bat, he struggled in this because he said, and he jokingly said this, of course, but he said, we didn't have any character deaths as nice, nice points of, story focus, as beginning, middle, or end of this. We didn't have any. we really lucked out. Again, he's being silly, but we really lucked out having the death of Boromir, as a good emotional tie-up for the first film. And you had, of course, the fall of Gandalf. Technically the death of Gandalf, at least hit that form. The in that movie also. So in this one, they didn't have any good deaths to hinge some story moments on. So the end of it is, and they didn't also, because gosh, they changed so many things. The structure obviously is radically changed. The not
Well, they can.
moving. I was gonna say moving Shelob to Return of the King, which I know if you actually look at chronologically, is actually accurate when it looks at when you interweave these stories and try to keep the characters at roughly the same timeline. But this was a hard book to adapt.
Oh yeah.
Adapting this I think this would be the hardest book to adapt, because one, not only are you I think they made the right decision to intermingle, to intercut between the stories. I think this would have been it works as a book, but it would not work as a film if you tried to shoot it the way it was written.
No.
And
yeah, they had to add two entirely new set pieces to this movie in order for it to kind of be paced properly and have proper character stuff to it.
Yeah.
Because the book so heavily follows Aragorn, and the fact is Aragorn in the books is not an interesting character. He's just the hero, trademark. And he doesn't have much depth whatsoever. He's just this good guy cutout, and you get really good interactions, mind you, between him and the hobbits and Legolas and Gimli, and the relationship between Legolas and Gimli is constantly there in the background. It's really funny even in the book. But Aragorn needed more, and the movie gives him more to do.
Yeah.
And I've met some Tolkien fans in person and online that get really bent out of shape about how much Aragorn has changed, specifically in this second book, second movie. But I love it. I think that it's the right choice for, and I hate using this phrase, modern audiences. But Brian and I both watch a guy who uses the phrase modern audiences very derisively. Though his most recent video on Predator Badlands, I actually completely disagree with so far, based on my own impressions. Anyway, I think we should get started on this one pretty quick here.
We should.
It is a long one. We are going to be watching this. We are watching it in two parts. So for those of you who don't know, the DVDs of the extended editions, because we are watching the extended editions, of course. Only way to watch it. Is split exactly at 1 hour and 46 minutes. So we're going to be ending an hour and 46 minutes into this and picking up with part 2 next week.
Yes.
So get ready for that. Nice, brisk episode as we dive into The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And let me tell you, this movie... Yes, was it?
No. Say what you're going to say first.
This movie has my favorite opening, possibly of any movie ever. It's in the top 3 at least.
Nice.
This movie raised the bar for how to open a movie.
It is very good. I was going to say, we don't need to go through all the details again, but I was wondering if you wanted to highlight some of the actors we have joining us in this film versus going through the entire cast list before we start.
Well, naturally, we do have this one as being 3 hours and 55 minutes long, technically, though we're only doing the 1 hour and 45 minutes to start. Released in December of 2002, rated PG-13, directed by Peter Jackson, written by Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, Philippa Boyens, and of course J.R., based on the works of J.R. Tolkien. We had gone over the entirety of the Fellowship last week, so I'm going to go ahead and skip that, and I want to highlight a couple of new faces that we have in this one, including Miranda Otto, Bernard Hill, sorry, I suddenly got this thing in my throat. Andy Serkis coming in as Gollum. John Rhys Davies again in a completely different role. We have Carl Urban, as well as
one of our favorite actors.
One of my all-time favorite, and one of my all-time favorite character actors that kind of goes under the radar a lot. Brad Dourif.
That's Wormtongue, right?
That is Wormtongue.
Yeah. Okay. I would say I
I
thought that was Wormtongue.
love Brad Dourif.
Yeah, he's
Okay?
one of those.
And you're going to hear me
fantastic-
talk about Brad Dourif. You're going to hear me talk about him as Chucky. You're going to hear me talking about him from Dune. You're going to hear me talking about him from Star Trek Voyager. Brad Dourif is amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Well, let's get ready to hit that play button and talk about this fantastic opening. 3, 2, 1, go.
you might need to end up talking some about this because like during the scene, because I'm just gonna want to watch it, and I've already watched it like 3 times this week. But like, seeing this in theaters, man, I was 12 years old or 11. I was 11 years old. Okay, and the opening of this thing, it was the most incredible special effects that I had ever seen, and even to this day, it looks really good. You can see some, blatant CGI in places, but even still, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it's.
What did you think the first time you saw this?
Oh, I mean, I wondered how they were going to open this. Actually, it was when I went to the theaters. It was like, okay, so what are they going to do? Because you don't just drop in on, everyone running across the field, or Sam and Frodo wandering through the cliffs. And then this was when I remember seeing the theater going like, okay, what are they doing here? We got this, just amazing mountainscape. The music is so good. And then you start hearing the little bits of dialogue from, the Bridge of Khazad-dûm sequence. And it's like, okay. And yeah, when I realized what they were doing, what they were jumping to, I was just instantly hyped. I remember in the theater just like, I think I watched half this movie leaning forward in my seat in the theater. You're just like, you're so into it. And it was a brilliant way to kind of catch the audience up while at the same time kind of setting the stakes again, and kind of reminding the audience, specifically with Gandalf, because spoiler, if anybody's listening to this and doesn't know, Gandalf comes back in this movie, which they ruined in the trailers. What do you think about that, by the way, that they actually gave that away in the theaters, in the trailers?
You see, I wasn't paying attention to that at the time, being 11 years old. So I didn't know he came back. I'd given up on reading the books before the movies came out because I was so bored. And so I was not that impacted by it. But when I learned that got spoiled in the trailers, I was like posthumously sad for everybody else.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, I remember when I saw a trailer, I remember both my wife and I at the time just being like, what? Like, because we both knew, we both read the books, but it's just like, I can't believe that they gave that away, because we knew a lot of people were seeing these that had not read the books. And this is one of those things too, where Tolkien, we talked about this last week and the week before, as fantastic of an author as Tolkien was, he didn't write a lot of action, and that's fine. Like, you don't need to necessarily, but I'm so glad that, and this is where, some Tolkien purists get, pissy, and I just disagree with them, that you need to see these things. And the fact that we were making these films in an era, in a time where technology had gotten to the point where you could do these scenes justice, I would have been very upset if you, and this is where, again, I'm sorry, anybody who disagrees with me, you have every right to, but if you shot the books, that's a good shot. The chanting.
Oh yeah.
If you just shot
falling
the
into
books,
that underground lake,
it would be, maybe you would love it because you're just seeing your book come to life, but it would be a far worse film. It really, really would. Yeah. And and it's hard sometimes to have that conversation with purists, but it's true. And you get, part of the thing that you need is you need to see the action. You need to see the Balrog. You need to see, Gandalf fighting. You need to see Aragorn, chopping up Uruk-hai. You need to see Boromir's death. You need to,
people,
go ahead.
Some people believe that it's a betrayal of Tolkien himself, because Tolkien did not believe in kind of the glorification of war and violence. He himself had been on the front lines in World War
Yeah.
One. He had some deep trauma related to wartime,
Oh, yeah.
and he wanted the horrors of war to be part of the message, even though another part of it is the appreciation of men who are prepared to do battle,
Love this.
the necessity of righteous war.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
there's also one thing I wanted to say really fast here. It begins here, cutting in as if Frodo had had a dream, okay, of Gandalf's fall, and you're sitting there going, "Why would he be having a dream?" And the logical person would probably go, "He's probably just dreaming of the moment that Gandalf died, and we just get to see this special look." But there's actually a potential reason for it, in the fact that one of the things that Sauron did is be able, in the creation of the rings, is tie. He was able to see into the minds of other ring bearers with the power of the One Ring. Frodo's carrying the One Ring, and this isn't put into the movie here, but Gandalf has one of the 3 elven rings. So, in theory, Frodo might be able to see into Gandalf's mind, and he might have actually been having that dream.
yeah. That's some of that little kind of stuff. I love this moment. It's just great. Elvish rope. I
Dude,
do,
that
by the
rope
way.
is like a catch-all
Oh
in
yeah.
the books.
Can you imagine though, this thin as they show that, trying to maybe it's really grippy or something. How thin it is trying to
Described as smooth as silk.
yeah. Just imagine trying to climb down something that gauge essentially. But yeah, see, my counter really quickly, I want to wrap this up before we go on. My counter to anybody who says showing action is a betrayal of Tolkien because it's I very much reject the notion that showing battle and filming battle is glorification. It can be, it 100% can be. I'm not trying to say that, but it also can be a very effective tool to show people the horror of war in a way that you only can visually, and be like, does this look glamorous? Does this look amazing? Now, granted, there are moments in this trilogy where they, this guy's freaking awesome, and Legolas and Gimli having their fun at Helm's Deep, but you also, it doesn't shy away from just the absolute, because I mean, there's not a major battle where you don't have some casualties that hit you. I mean, I remember the moment, even though we'll get to it when the elves show up in Helm's Deep, which did not happen in the book, but you have the moment where they fall. You have the king dying in Pelennor Fields. I mean, you have Mormor dying. I mean, it's none of the battles in these movies show good guys win, everything's awesome now, hooray. There's cost every time, and so I think that they aren't glorifying war. I think that they're glorifying heroic actions within war, which I don't think Tolkien would have had a problem with personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my quick counter to anybody who tries to make that argument.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk about the elves at Helm's Deep, because that's an absolutely hilarious hole that the director dug himself into.
Oh yeah. But really fast, I just
so
thought that was something I
much.
just want to say. I want to challenge anybody to tell me that the first half an hour of Saving Private Ryan is glorifying war. It's not.
Well, there's something a little different about just how kind of cool and stylized they make the battles in this versus how insane that was.
I know, but the idea that you can do both. You can show heroic deeds. You can make something visually amazing, and still show the horror. And
yeah,
I'm not saying this is as horrific as Omaha Beach, but still, I think the principle stands.
Yeah,
but
I understand.
Go ahead.
So I have actually a hard time with this part, even in the movie, because the story of Frodo and Sam and Gollum in the Two Towers is so boring to me. Pretty much until Sam is gearing up to go full Rambo on Cirith Ungol. It's so boring. Um, but yeah, the so even this, like, I see these rocks, I think about the dead marshes, and I get this like slight sinking of like, here we go again, even in the movie, you know?
I
Yeah.
think that's where too the movie does benefit greatly from intercutting because you do have the stuff with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, pursuing Merry and Pippin is so good. And
Mhm.
I think with this, what helps immensely is, and I want to talk at length about it. Gollum is so well realized, and I know this has like been talked about. This is not revelation. Yeah, everybody knows this. We talked about it briefly when we were watching the prequels earlier this year. You know, uh, Jar Jar was kind of in a lot of ways the first iteration of attempting to do a an on-screen character with this much screen time purely digitally.
Yeah,
But Gollum is just, I mean, no disrespect
a
to
whole other
ILM.
level.
Yeah, I mean, ILM, those guys are they deserve every bit of praise that they get. But Gollum is
Mm.
so much better than Jar Jar. And the thing is, you're
Yeah.
right here. You could say, okay, well, it's at night. They're kind of, they're using a lot of the things they can. But when we later on in this film, when he is in full daylight, when there is no trickery, that is capable of hiding imperfections or problems with the rendering of him as a character, he still looks great. And he's not quite as slimy, for lack of better terms, than I think I always pictured him when I read the books. But he's still such a well realized vision of that character.
Yeah. And it's just one of the things that I noticed that is really hard to do that they started off right at the bat. Peter Jackson just likes these shots directorially, which is rare, is the close up on the faces. Like what we just had with
Yeah.
Frodo there with the sword that looked like a comic book panel.
Oh yeah.
And they do it with Smeagol and Gollum several times in this movie.
Yeah.
I actually think this part right here is the roughest part when it comes to the special effects, especially the take it off us that he says here in a second, is like the worst special effects of Gollum. But even still, it looks so good. Like,
Well, and we're watching this now, and I mean, I think of so the two things that come to mind for me as just fantastically realized CG characters are I'm not talking about the films, but in Avatar they look the Na'vi look amazing, and like
mm,
Thanos in the MCU,
oh, Thanos,
I
yeah.
mean they look really good. Those characters benefit from bigger budgets and nearly 20 years of CG advancement from when this film was when Gollum's effects were done. And
Hmm.
I don't think that they look substantially better, which is just saying something for the people at Weta.
I think the things that really helped, because the only one that there's a couple that I think of. Okay, you specified those ones. I think that the ones that are actually like as good as this, okay, that genuinely do look better, that are the top like cream of the crop for all of it, okay,
Okay.
is going to be Davy Jones
Oh
from the
yeah, yeah,
Pirates
yeah.
of the Caribbean
Hey,
sequels.
I don't know why I
Um,
always forget about that, but I mean, and that's still held up as one of the greatest CG digital faces of all time, and it
no,
is.
he still looks he
He's
looks
so good.
better than so many because I think of Davy Jones, okay, Doctor Manhattan, and Caesar the Ape. Okay, like
I forget
those
about
three.
Caesar. Yeah.
How did you? Yeah, it just it's it's unlike anything, and it's like the peak of the technology. As much as I love Gollum, he still doesn't have like a lot of the hard shadows. That's one of the areas where he fails. His shadows are
Yeah.
too soft. Um, but the movement and the skin texture and the hair, because hair like that is so hard to get right, and if you focus on it, it does look like video game hair, but it moves just naturally enough that you don't notice. Um, Yeah. Also, I think that if you're looking at fully computerized models, uh, anybody who wants to see truly incredible ones should go look at the video game God of War Ragnarok. Um, like holy crap, those are some of the single best character visuals I have ever seen,
Yeah,
especially Kratos.
yeah. There's, I mean, yeah, there are a couple of video games that come to mind, but yeah, he's definitely one of the best ones. So yeah, it's, I mean, it's just it's an achievement that deserves all of the the recognition that it gets, and it's the kind of thing where, especially given the time, the resources that they had, and that they did not have years and years and years to do him. I mean, he was done in I mean in these world of special effects, he was done quickly.
Hmm. Yeah, but this scene, okay. So these in the book, it really focuses on the fact that these orcs end up getting killed. In the movie here, it's by the Riders of Rohan. Um, but in the book, it was infighting between the orcs and the Urukai. Um, they get mad at each other, and they kind of throw in a little bit of this division in into the extended edition here. It wasn't in the original, but I really like how they threw that in here. The true orcs versus the Urukai having problems.
Yeah. Well, I just the I actually I like again that Tolkien kind of realized even the the villains of this world as having their own. You get a little bit too in Return of the King. Kind of the social structure of the orcs. When you get into Mordor as they're moving through after Shelob, you kind of get a little bit of that. But just
Hmm.
the idea that these are still creatures that have motivations and have you know structure and they have their own agendas and prejudices and all that stuff. It just again it makes this world feel more real. And
Oh yeah, and in this one we even get the insight into orc culture that they have restaurants. Do you know why that is?
um, just that it's on the menu. Is that you go ahead?
Because it's back on the menu.
They have that word.
They have
Uh,
the word like meat's back on the menu. Like I get that it's a modern colloquialism, but it's just like where would Urukai have to deal with menus?
uh,
Like uh
this though too. I mean, this movie more than I think any other ones. I mean, granted, there's a lot of good moments from Return of the King, but Legolas and Gimli, both Orlando Bloom and John Rhys Davis, the actors and just the writing, the way that the movie structured it, they I don't think you can overstate how much they help this movie be as good as it is. Like their relationship building
yeah.
is so much fun, and we talked
Mhm.
about this briefly last week. But just the idea of just male companionship, just like bros, and this is
Yeah.
definitely kind of a dude saga for the most part. And I mean Sam is amazing, but
Mhm.
there is something about Legolas and Gimli, and they just nail it so well. Those actors do.
Oh yeah,
This
they're the
this
C-3PO and R2-D2 of these movies,
oh yeah,
but like more badass.
it's great. As much as I love Star Wars, I'll take Legolas and Gimli. Oh man, so many great lines. This whole wasted on cross country.
No, I mean, well, that's me. Okay, I
Oh.
struggle so much with running distance. Like right now, I'm trying to relearn how to run due to some injuries, and I can get like a mile before I start just losing gas. But I can out sprint almost anyone, and
So you're
that is
saying
a
you're a
boast.
dwarf.
Yes, I am boasting. I am. I can out sprint like my workout group. You'll have these other guys who are like some even a foot taller than me with much longer legs, and I'm not necessarily going to beat them, but I get real close. I've given them a run for their money. Oh, I didn't send you the video. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. They're taking the hobbits. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Somebody back
Isengard.
music
Techno
video.
music comes in. Yeah, it was an
Nice.
ancient viral video that is that line or several lines throughout these movies compiled into techno music, and it will get lodged in your head. And there was even a video behind the scenes for the Hobbit movies of Orlando Bloom singing. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard behind the scenes.
It's fun.
Like it was a
This
genuine thing, and I meant to send it to you.
this shot, because you have like that smaller tower as it goes up. Thinking, okay, we got a tower. No, this keeps going. And I mean,
Uh-huh.
this is of course fantastic model work. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. And this is where they establish the two towers, if for this movie, are Orthanc and Barad-dûr. And it's about the alliance between Isengard and Mordor. And this is where the threats are from. This is the growing shadow, you know? This is the Empire striking back.
Yeah.
And another fun piece of trivia, all these blacksmiths were the actual Weta Workshop blacksmiths who made these swords, got to play the blacksmiths.
Yeah. They got just getting well, so much of the casting crew. They were just I think we talked about this last week, but it's the behind the scenes, the amount of passion with every department on this movie, the amount of work they put in, the amount of the love that was there. Oh, it's just great. The sheer
I love,
amount of like weaponry that was created, you could have actually
yeah.
equipped a small army with what they made for this movie.
I love the orcs. Like this orc here, like, yes. Um, this is also a necessary scene. I mean, not necessary; it was cut out. But like the wild men of Rohan, made this alliance because the Uruk-hai could move in daylight, but they didn't like it. It still hurt, so he went to the outlaws and the
Love the guy's
brigands.
teeth. Sorry.
Right. Went to the outlaws and brigands throughout Rohan and hired them to go harass Rohan. And they're the ones who like killed Theoden's son. Because in the original, it just cuts to this scene here of these, the villages are burning and the village people are running.
Yeah, you don't quite
Um,
understand who's. Yeah. Well, and especially just establishing that this is a bigger world, and and Rohan, I love really like Rohan so much. It has my favorite musical cue of the entire trilogy. As much as I love so many of the themes, Rohan's theme is just my favorite. But the Rohan race was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the most straightforward, just kind of Anglo-Saxon culture in this
yeah, straight up.
in this story, right? Like it was just basically like, yeah, we were just going to have Anglo-Saxons in the middle of this, in
Yeah,
between Gondor and the North. It's just sitting there in the middle.
yeah. Also, I want to point something out, okay? There's technically one other scene a little bit later with Miranda Otto and that little girl that we see here fleeing, but the girl and the mother, that is the most you have of an exchange between two female characters on screen in the whole trilogy.
I'm trying to think. I,
The other
guys,
female characters don't talk to each
did they
other.
never actually meet each other, right?
No, there was going to be more scenes that we'll discuss later. Arwen was supposed to be very prevalent in this movie, and they
Oh,
ended
she was
up
supposed to be at
cutting.
Helm's
And
Deep. Yeah.
she was supposed to be at Helm's Deep, and she and Miranda Otto got to perform some scenes together, and they were really excited about it because they were like, we finally get to be around other girls. And they cut Arwen out entirely. The entire reason for the elves showing up to assist at um, Helm's Deep was to have Arwen there, and they cut Arwen out.
Well, I
And
think that
so
they.
the elves are just there.
Yeah, I think though that
We'll
it,
talk
it
about that more
does.
come part two, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that they. I mean, it's again because I was just rewatching the interviews with Peter Jackson. As they were talking about wanting Liv Tyler there, wanting Arwen there, and just realizing that it just created an issue, and part of it was they were getting intense as rumors of that were swirling around. They were getting a lot of backlash already from like the Lord of the Rings on the what is it, the OneRing.net or whatever it was, the main fan site at the time.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and it was people were like, you can't, no, what are you doing? And that's where they ended up switching to there's a bunch of flashbacks that they do instead, which I think with they work fine. But it is hard. It is hard because you do need to, I hate the word, but it's just the best word for it. You do need to modernize a few of the aspects of the story to make it flow. But I still stand by the fact that these filmmakers honored the spirit of the story so well. It just never bothers me. And there are plenty. I mean, if you guys ever want to, hear me rant about adaptations that piss me off, I mean, we'll get to some of those in the future. There are plenty of them. Like I'm not an apologist for any adaptation that makes changes, but I just don't think that this trilogy is guilty of it.
Yeah. Well, I completely acknowledge that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that probably when those scenes actually come up.
Here you go, though.
In the next
here's
one.
Your favorite character after showing up.
Here we have this whole introduction of new characters. We have young and unknown freaking Carl Urban, who we watched Dredd already, right? And he criminally underused in the MCU in his one little bit part in Thor Ragnarok, as good as that movie was. He's one of my favorite cast members in the Star Trek reboot trilogy as Bones.
He's my favorite.
Oh yeah, and then he was in a whole bunch of just other fun stuff. Most people like him for The Boys these days. I hate The Boys personally, so come at me. But we also have the introduction of Bernard Hill, who died just earlier this year, last year, as Theoden. But we also have Miranda Otto and Brad Dourif as Wormtongue. For those of you who don't know, this slimy, creepy little man first come on the scene with like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, okay? But this guy's the voice of Chucky in all but one of the Child's Play movies, with the exception of the remake from 2017 with Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky. But he kept this accent up because he is an American man. He kept that accent up all the way through production to where Bernard Hill thought that his American accent was fake.
That's amazing.
He thought that he was British.
That's such a great helicopter shot.
But where I first saw Brad Dourif was the original Dune movie that was like our very first podcast, right?
Yeah.
He was the Harkonnen Mentat.
That's right. What's funny is like I could picture his face in that movie, and I was trying to remember like what character was he? Because I kept thinking like Dr. Mentat. Just took me a second, but yeah, no, he was great. Well, he's one of those guys he's a great actor. He has great delivery, and he's got one of those faces that he can just he plays a character that you kind of instantly don't trust. I always feel bad for those actors in a way, but also like, hey, you know what? It gets you work if you just got one of those faces.
He is banked on it so much, though. I remember there was this one movie. It was one of those post-Scream slasher movies, Urban Legend. He shows up at the beginning as actually a distraction. He's a red herring where everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's actually Brad Dourif's the bad guy in this, and he gets killed off. And you go, oh, nice. Brad Dourif isn't. And they do the same thing in multiple shows. Okay, I remember watching like Criminal Minds, and they have him as a guest appearance, and he's again a complete red herring. Like you're supposed to know, ooh, Brad Dourif's the villain, but then he's not. And he pops up on just all these TV shows, things like Fringe. He was really good in Fringe, and he's always this special guest star bad guy. And like Law and Order SVU and an episode of Supernatural. But I remember him, the first time I ever really saw him and remembered him was in 2 episodes of Star Trek Voyager, he played a Betazoid serial killer who loses his mind, and he's actually a crew member on Voyager.
Okay.
And
so I would just want to really comment really fast on these. Some of these orcs just look so good. Like, it's just like their faces.
Oh, yeah.
They managed to make them so distinct, while all obviously also making them, all of this of the same race. But you don't struggle to tell them apart, which is like, that's a real feat of makeup work. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. So
But
I'm
yeah,
going to
no,
shut up
I
about Brad Dourif, but
that's okay.
because you're totally right. And having recently seen some parts of The Hobbit, okay, where all of the orcs are CGI, and then watching this, you're like, this is what it should be. This is what it always should be. The CG orcs, they're good for what they are, but they look terrible. You have to admit it. It's not right. This is right.
Well, because you're not, and you also find out that they're a little bit cannibalistic here.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Menu. I always love the random body parts, like the little intestine there flying up in the air. Right? Just a little cannibalism humor there. Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
But I also like that they did find a way, in this sequence and going into Fangorn to honor the spirit a little bit of, the forest off Buckland, and the, where, they actually get Old Man Willow a little bit later on in this movie, and just as much as Tom Bombadil is not in this, and then we talked about this at length last time, so I won't go into it, but I'm glad that they do honor the idea that was introduced in Fellowship of the Ring here a little bit, that they managed to kind of, and even when they got here, a couple minutes ago, and Merry and Pippin are like talking about it, and they actually reference, that forest. So, anyways, I like that they managed to get that in there a little bit. It's a good transition. Every now and then, Legolas is just like, okay, you're going to stop and you're going to say something that, man, if it's delivered badly, would be just, it's like a lot of Legolas's lines.
I was just going to laugh because I've gotten that picture and line sent to me by my wife a few times.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say,
she's not pregnant.
Oh, there are several lines that, if they're delivered poorly, would just be laughable, but when they're delivered well, they work, and that's one of them. I think.
Oh, definitely. So these writers, like they were practical. They had all these horses. There's some CGI in some places, but not many. But they had problems in New Zealand finding the proper amount of talented writers. So most of these Rohirrim are women with beards.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it? I'm trying to think if I remember it. Didn't they have to bring in some from Australia, or are they actually all from New Zealand?
I think they had to bring some in from Australia. Horse riding, as far as I know, and horse ranching is not a huge thing in New Zealand, but it is huge in Australia. Yeah,
but to say, I know you're not going to struggle to find, horses and riders in Australia. Man, Karl Urban, man, he's just, I do want to gush about him a little bit. I mean, he's just,
gush.
He's such a treasure. He plays, it's so funny for me because on one hand, I always see Karl Urban because I just love him. But he also just is, his role so great. And he plays, dastardly evil. He plays very heroic. I forget the name of the show. It was a short-lived show with like him and an android cop together. It was like a buddy cop, sci-fi show.
Almost Human.
Almost Human.
Because I loved that just little short thing. Short season.
Yeah,
so
I have many issues with the Kelvin Star Trek, but he is fantastic as Dr. McCoy, and it's he's somebody who, and I'm not a big fan of The Boys either, but I just enjoy watching him, and just pretty much anything he does, I enjoy watching him, and I love that he kind of got his, obviously he had been acting. It's not like this was his debut role, but this was his big breakout moment. This is when, people outside of just the New Zealand, TV market essentially found out who he was. And I'm so glad that he got a flourishing career out of this because he deserved it.
Have you seen Chronicles of Riddick?
Not in a long, long time.
Because he was like the main bad guy in that, or the second main bad guy or something. But you had to wear the ugliest armor, and he had to have the ugliest hair, and he's laughable in that movie. Like, I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's got those weird roles, and that's
especially early on. Whenever we finally get to it, he to me is like I liked him in Doom, even.
Oh yeah, Doom! Oh my god, I forgot about Doom.
Because everybody thinks of
the
Doom,
hero
and they think of
Doom.
they think of Dwayne the Rock Johnson, but Karl Urban's actually the Doom guy. It's not Dwayne. It's Karl Urban that he's the Doom guy.
The Rock is the bad guy.
Yeah.
They just gave him these two horses and they named them. But these two actually, in the books, showed up with Gandalf and Shadowfax. They were like Shadowfax's retainers, almost, because Shadowfax is the king of the horses. They gave it to him early.
Okay,
so,
this is like one of the most.
Would you like to
well-known...
talk about the trivia?
I'm about to say, I mean, this is like one of the most well-known trivia things, but I love talking about it whenever we can. That there's two things here. I do love the fact that Gimli is the one who kind of like digs through the bodies, and just the idea that dwarves would be kind of the least bothered by this. Just they're just a little more hardy creatures. And then I'll lead up to this. Viggo Morrison, when he kicks this Orcai helmet here and screams, he broke his foot, and he just went with it. Like, he literally just broke his toe and just acted through the pain. And there you go. Like, we just watched Viggo Morrison commit so much that he just snapped his toe a little bit and just rolled
because
with
he
it.
didn't tell him about it at first because he didn't want to mess up shooting, and he said that the stunt guys got hurt worse than that all the time, and who was he to mess that up? But that piece of trivia is so well known that it's been memed to hell in certain areas of the internet, even like mainstream areas of the internet. I like the book version of this a little better, because one of the things about it is that Pippin is leaving clues for Aragorn everywhere. And he's tearing off pieces of his cloak. He's, dropping his brooch and doing other things. And it showed just how smart and resourceful Pippin was. And they do fairly well in this scene as well. He's like cutting off his own bonds. He pulled off his brooch and spat it out so they could follow him. But the Pippin is done a little dirty in the books. I mean, in the movies versus the books. He's very, very clever.
Yeah, they use him for some for comedic relief, and he's funny in the books too. But they do overdo it. You're right, and the both Merry and Pippin are very capable hobbits throughout. They're very they have brave hearts. They definitely have their moments, and then obviously in the the end of the books, going back to the Shire, they have major roles. But it still works as a. I like the intercutting. I think there was a really kind of cool way to both show Aragorn's skill as a tracker, while also filling you in on the rest of that story. Like, it's well edited. I think this is just a really well paced and edited sequence here, going back and forth between these two and kind of bringing it all together. I always enjoy this part.
I think this forest is really well done, because Fangorn has to have that particularly dark and ancient forest feel, but it doesn't really exist.
They had to build
in
this.
New Zealand. So this is, in certain areas, it's the most obvious set, but it still just looks so good in its design and its creepiness that it's one of my favorite locations. Yeah.
Well, I love the fact that this is a forest that we know that it was. Well, I guess at this point it is still night, but the fact that when Aragorn and everybody comes in, that this is a forest that is dark in the middle of the day. because it's just such a dense, thick forest.
Yeah.
Like there are other forests that are this thick in the world. I mean, there are definitely parts of the jungle down in South America, and if you get up into like British Columbia and way up north, there's some stuff that's just crazy thick, but nothing that has that old, you know, Northern European look.
I don't know. I think that there's actually some places in Northern California that look like Fangorn Forest at certain times of the year. I remember
Poor orc.
very distinctly some areas. You go in like the springtime in the early morning up in the American River Canyon area, that just it feels weird how creepy and dense and old the forests will feel.
I love too that we actually have the full animatronic like face here, which it looks pretty good because I mean,
Well, it's
there's
augmented
obviously
with CG in really great
augmented.
ways.
Yeah, it is augmented, but in most of what we're seeing is just a really well done, animatronic puppet.
Yeah. So this is John Rhys Davies, Gimli, getting a second role as the voice of Treebeard, and a great design, just absolutely fantastic design. But his speech pattern is supposedly modeled after Tolkien's good friend C.S. Lewis, because C.S. Lewis had a way of speaking that was filled with like pauses and ums and hums and oh all the time.
Well, and C.S. Lewis also had just a very deep, booming voice. I mean, it was just described as being very, just a rich, big voice. Whereas Tolkien was not a big. He wasn't known for his amazing speeches, and Lewis was. I mean, heck, one of Lewis's most famous books, Mere Christianity, was actually a series of radio addresses that Lewis gave, and you can go listen to it. He had an amazing voice. Yeah, I'm reading the same thing about Treebeard. It's a little bit of conjecture, but it's very solid conjecture that Treebeard is based on C.S. Lewis.
And that's not just for the movie, but like the way that Tolkien wrote the book.
Wrote him, yeah.
People believe that he wrote Treebeard to be a representative of C.S. Lewis. But I love the design of Treebeard because he's just described as like a big man made of wood with a big tangly, branchy beard in the books. Where and then other Ents are described like being certain types of trees, and because he was like a young, quick one that would dart around. He was the fastest of them and the youngest, but they make him just like a full tree. And I love it. It looks so good.
The dead marshes here. There's really no way this cannot be heavily inspired by his experiences in World War One. Right? I just the mud, the bodies, just the miserableness of it, the whole thing. I mean, just the old battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
It's
gotta be.
I'm looking at this, and the two movies that come to mind are both, the All Quiet on the Western Front, the remake that Netflix did. Even though the original is fantastic, but the one that Netflix did a year or two ago, which is just such a hard movie to watch, but a really well done one. And then 1917.
Yeah, 1917
is just also really good, but just that conflict. And it's interesting because you have, we were talking a little bit earlier about just war, that you have, Tolkien, went through, he experienced, two wars like so many people did at that time. You had the World War One, which was just such a pointless war, just such a tragic conflict for how it started and what it was, why it happened, why it continued, how long it went on, just all that. And, kind of the greatest example, I think, ever of just the most useless war, the biggest waste ever.
Mm-hmm.
And then World War II.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Just to your point, a lot of people like to take the sins of Nazi Germany and transpose it backwards in time to the Central Powers of World War One. And the fact is, there wasn't some great moral crisis that kicked off World War One.
No.
It wasn't some good versus evil
Nope.
struggle. They both sides tried to make it out to be as much as possible, but the real quote unquote good versus evil struggle that was World War II is almost transposed backwards to where we think of Germany as and Austria and Hungary, the Central Powers, of being this great evil thing
Yeah.
of World War One, when in reality it really wasn't. It was like these nation states
Yeah.
that
It
were
was just,
fighting over resources and territory and
and a lot of it was
economics.
just, yeah, and yeah, it was that coupled with a lot of just old entrenched egos, treaties, just politics in the worst way, aristocracies,
Politics in the
and
worst way that didn't understand what type of war they were starting.
yeah, yeah.
They had never fought an industrial war,
No, it
and
was so
yeah.
bad. Um, but then juxtaposed, I guess, World War II, which I would never ever call World War II a good war. There is no such thing. I as much as I love studying war and I really enjoy the topic, there's no such thing as a good war. But there is such a thing as a necessary war, and it's just one of the tragedies of the human condition. But World War II is almost as close as you can get to a war that was necessary, that you can
Yeah.
understand why it happened and that it was necessary to do it. And for Tolkien, you wonder if those, because as much as Tolkien very much hated the idea of war, and really was didn't like the idea of industrialization and just modernization, all his themes come out through this book. The idea that there is a time and a place where going to war is necessary, and that's kind of what this story ultimately is, that getting the ring back to Mordor to be destroyed, and the actions that have to be taken by the heroes to engage in conflict and battle is it's just, anyways, the times that he lived through, I think that it makes sense that they influenced him to a certain extent, and I like that. So this whole scene, though, okay, so this is just like creepy.
Well,
the
this is very much almost a rendition of the Barrow Wights from because him falling into the water like that didn't happen in the book.
No,
The Barrow Wights were in
the Fellowship.
the Fellowship of the Ring, beginning there. And it was a very similar scene, and they even use dialogue from the Barrow Downs, which was the chapter, the Barrow Downs, in those moments, and it's these marshes are supposed to be the remnants of the battle from the beginning of the first movie where Sauron died,
Yeah,
or was defeated. And so we get this sequence in the beginning of these huge armies. This is the remnants of it, and the magic that was spent there was is kind of what keeps them alive still. That's the thing.
yeah. And what do you think of just the kind of duality that they start to work into Gollum here? The Smeagol versus Gollum kind of persona, and the way that
Yeah.
they shoot it, and kind of, did you appreciate that?
To an extent, I like the way that they shot it. Smeagol has wide open eyes and bigger pupils, and he tends to have his mouth open, where Gollum has the narrow pupils and narrow eyes, and he tends to have his mouth closed and look more suspicious. But I did notice an uptick in like the whole thing in movies and culture of having like split personality DID stuff show up a lot.
Yeah, but
So that was something that kind of annoyed me.
yeah, I think how it works for me here is because I never took it as a split personality. I really took it, as a oh gosh, the that the ring's influence on him and who he was. Just that like more of an inner conflict than two distinct like personality. Even though they play it straight up, I'm not saying that they don't play it straight up like it's like a split personality, because they especially like not quite yet, but later on in this film, I mean, they don't hold back at all from he's having conversations with himself, right? But
Yeah.
that because of the hundreds and hundreds of years that he spent with the ring, that he'd be a little messed up internally, and I do appreciate
Mhm.
that. Oh man,
Yeah,
these
Peter
the des-
Jackson said that he wanted to make it very much like a addiction.
yeah, man, I love the scream and the Nazgul. It just sounds.
Hmm.
Oh, it's just like this. The pitch they got it, the shrieking. It's so effective.
Yeah. And I
So
really love just the look of these beasts because they're not dragons.
no, they're not.
They're never described as dragons in the book either because they're not supposed to be. Dragons are supposed to be these giant mythical beasts.
I love that just the if you're paying attention, understand it. Like whenever any of the wraiths were close, he always had the instinct to come over him to put the ring on, because
Hmm.
that it was being called home, because if he did, they would immediately know where he was. And just the idea here that
Yeah.
he's trying to, but that Sam kind of recognizes what's happening a little bit at this point, and kind of grabs his hand. And it's just like, I'm here for. It's just it's a really good moment between the two of them that goes by really fast there, but I always appreciated it.
Yeah. Same. Um, I always hated that he like went and stuck the orc blood right in his mouth. I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, why?
just yeah. I mean, I think again, part of it is in like little subtle ways, where he's digging through the burnt piles of work, kind of whatever, and then right there, that's just a little bit of hinting, just the fact that like dwarves just have a little more, a little bit thicker constitution than the other races when it comes to some of that stuff.
Yeah, he's like, you need to call somebody to unclog your toilet. It'll be Gimli.
Oh, I also just the idea too of like, yes, you're carrying an axe in a forest of living trees. Why don't you calm down a little bit?
Right? I mean, he doesn't know that they're living trees, so
Talking. Oh man, trees have to
Yeah, what do
consistency of
trees have to
squirrel
talk about?
droppings.
So, what do you think about this reintroduction? Like the way that they slice in Christopher Lee's face and voice and stuff like that. You think that's like a good thing, or do you think it's kind of a
Yeah,
cheap trick?
I think this is where if they had not given it away, I guess it would be like, but you've already told the audience that we're paying attention that he's. I it's so quick and subtle that most people don't even realize that they're doing it, and so it's like whatever. It's a very very minor thing,
Yeah.
but it does annoy me a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think it's super well done, to be honest. And it annoys me. I don't like it.
I because there's no story reason for why Christopher Lee's voice would be here at this point. Like there's just
Well, he is supposed to be what Saruman should have been.
should have been,
There's that
yeah.
whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. I know I do like that shot right there where he kind of comes out of the light and his face comes into
It's like
focus.
the Gandalf shot.
Yeah, it is a good shot. So it's one of the things where like it's a quibble that I would call it a quibble, that I don't love it, but it doesn't like bother me. It doesn't like make the film less for me in any way.
Hmm. It's just it's one of the moments because I think that this movie has the most moments out of all three of them that make me go kind of, all right, I guess. And that's one of them. It's but oh, this scene, I love this. The Balrog of
So
Morgoth.
they're on a tower in a mountain basically here, right?
No, it's on top of the mountain. So when the Balrog, the way that it's told in the book, is that the Balrog, as kind of this sludge creature, it falls into the water and it extinguishes the fire, and it turns into almost like this sloppy, gross sludge monster. Okay, and as the sludge monster, it tries to run away from Gandalf. And it goes up these big stairs and flees up the mountain and eventually to this tower that's on top of one of the mountains over Moria. And it's there that they have this fight. And he's finally able to kill it. And then but he dies in the same fight.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just kind of like wake up and head out. He actually goes back to Rivendell and they fix him up.
Yeah. I think it's the way they present it in this film. I wouldn't blame an audience member for being like, wait a minute, where are they fighting? Because they were like down in this chasm, in this massive chasm at the base of the mountain. And so when you cut to this, to that scene of them fighting and that final, couple blows, most people that I know assume that that's still like down in the mountains somewhere.
But it like looks.
Oh no, I agree. It does, but it's just the movie doesn't do any work to try to establish how they ended up there fighting. It's just like, here you go. I do appreciate that he's got kind of a gray cloak over his white, even right here. Just that. Yeah, I do love that they bring in Shadowfanks here, and I guess he's actually been using Shadowfanks since the beginning of the first story in the books. But they introduced Shadowfanks here, which it does work. I mean, you didn't need the story of Shadowfanks in the first movie, so it's not something that bothers me. But
yeah, and this whole thing, this small stone starts the avalanche. That's straight out of the book.
Oh yeah,
like that dialogue there, and I'm glad that they were able to keep things in. They're able to do really well with those little scenes.
I also have to imagine that Ian McKellen was happy to switch to this garb because it was just a lot less work to get into. Just the
wig little cleaner
and beard. Just he looks good. It's a good look on him.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, they are far safer than you were about to be.
Some people in these scenes say that you can see Ian McKellen wearing Converse, but it's not. It's just the way that his particular costume ended up fitting him in that scene.
Yeah. Man, that horse is pretty.
It is a very pretty horse. They did really well casting that horse.
Yeah.
And there's talking all weird again.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting. I think that there's times where with Legolas specifically, like he's got to, the elf stuff. It's like, all right, well, elves have got to speak in like this overly lyrical style of speech.
Like flowery, flamboyant, old,
yeah.
He refers to everybody as like being young, or he tells Aragorn and Gimli, he addresses them almost like they're children.
But then he also has this like innocence about him, which is interesting because he is much older, but he's lived a very sheltered life. Because for elves, he's actually fairly young, correct?
Yeah, he's not one of the super old ones. Unlike Arwen, who's like 2,090 and 900 years old.
Yeah,
going after an 87-year-old man.
Yeah, she really robbing the cradle with Aragorn.
I mean, man. She's like robbing the nursing home, but she's just so much older.
Oh man, I really do like a lot of the Treebeard stuff. I mean, I've had some people who aren't as enamored with these films as I am, which it's just I don't know how they could possibly do it. That Treebird is actually something that I've heard people be like, it just slows down when it's Treebird and the and Merry and Pippin. Like they find this kind of slow, and I'm like, I think this is great. It's just fun. It's a good bit of levity, while at the same time, it's building on the world a little bit, and it doesn't overstay. Like, I mean, just a couple minutes here and there, and there's so many great lines. Just as you're like learning about the age, it helps establish how old this world is.
Yeah. I've mainly heard that complaint in the books, because as much as I love all the Ent stuff, and like you're talking about, I think that it's really fun, all the Ent stuff in the movies, in my opinion.
Mhm.
But in the books, it is so slow. It is so boring. I almost feel like him putting the hobbits to sleep in this scene is a reference to just how easy it is to fall asleep reading those scenes in the books.
I always love the look on
That's
of the actors' faces there as they're just like, "Yep, we're gonna sleep. We're tired. We're tired hobbits."
because they have
I
the Ent boot.
Yeah, I do actually wish that they had shown them a little more dramatically tall compared to other hobbits. Like when they just, I mean, because it's a drastic change when they, by the the growth they experience when they get the drought later.
Yeah.
And at the end of
So,
Return of the King, when you see them all together, like I feel like they should have had a little more fun with that. I mean, because it's really emphasized, in the ending of the story that they are big hobbits when they get back.
yeah. So one of the things here, there's a scene in the books that's really random, and there's still debate about this, where Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn are camping, and this old man in a gray cloak just shows up to like have coffee with them, essentially, and then just you know runs off.
Mhm.
And they even go up to Gandalf and they're like, "Was that you?" And he's like, "Nope, that wasn't me." It's just random guy, and there's no explanation for it, but it's somehow still in the book,
He
and
just
it
wanted
has
to.
no plot references. It's just random guy shows
He just
up
wanted to share in
to
the
have fun.
just get a cup of coffee, warm up a little bit.
It's so strange. It's so strange.
This is one of those scenes though that I think, and this is where it still feels. I mean, and this is again just kind of an exposition dump here in a way, but it works. The idea that Gandalf is like, all right, we kind of got out of the forest, we kind of got going, and I'm going to take a minute to kind of let you know what's going on. Where we're going to catch up the audience here a tiny bit, but it doesn't feel. I mean, at least they're not sitting in a room. They're kind of out in the field
Yeah.
still, because you would, if you're traveling at night, you would stop to rest, and that's when you would take the time to kind of catch up. So it still feels, I think, fairly natural, about as natural as you could do, while having a couple minutes of just two guys talking.
Yeah.
Because that is it is because you've got to do it at times. You've got to tell the audience what the heck is going on, and you do have to kind of remind people of a few things. But
You see,
it
a
is a
lot of
challenge.
times a lot
Go
of
ahead.
times random exposition scenes will do bother me, but that's one that I actually genuinely never thought of as a random exposition scene, because you're totally right. It's just two guys standing around, which I've said on this podcast before sucks. So many times there's just two people standing around talking about things. um I point to the TV show that I liked, I just had some disappointments with, Ahsoka, the Star Wars TV series Ahsoka. That so much of it is just people standing around talking about things in a room, not really doing anything. And the next scene, they move to another room and keep talking. But that scene, I always loved. I thought it was great. It has that, like, we're seeing the change in Gandalf, and the whole, like, Sam went with him. And just kind of the acting by Ian McKellen there of being like, did he? And just like how good that is. I don't know. It's just, I love it. The Black Gate here in this scene is of one of those bigatures. They built the whole big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
really
love
good
this. I love the
design.
detail of the trolls the leverage that you would need to open these doors, the wide shot where they actually show kind of like the track mark from where the doors opened before. Again, it just makes this whole
Mm.
thing feel like it really could exist.
Yeah. Because
You would
the
need a heck of a
physics
lever.
that would be needed on that, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the fact that even trolls with a lever that long, have to push that hard, and just the fact that the speed that it's opening at, they kind of get the proportions right.
The slowness.
Sam, there
Poor
you go.
Samwise.
Here's like our one moment too. It's funny. The elves do briefly mention the whole like these cloaks do help. The books obviously go into way more
Mhm.
detail that these cloaks, quite literally are like perfect camouflage,
Yeah,
like
there's a whole
magical
bunch
level.
of scenes. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of scenes through the whole thing, like including in Merry and Pippin's escape. One of the ways that they escape the battle is that they hide beneath these cloaks, which camouflage them. Dude, these Easterling armor designs are so stinking great. They're very scary. They're almost like insect-like. I love them.
Yeah. Oh no, they look fantastic.
Remind
I
me
mean, a little bit. I
Fantasy
feel.
Turks.
Yeah, but to say, yeah, a little bit kind of like Middle Eastern with just like a hint of like Asian flair on them, even. It's
Yeah,
really
there's an
cool.
Ottomanness to it.
Yeah.
But they don't give them Asian eyes, you know?
No, they
They've got
have
the
very
smoky eyeliner going on.
yeah. No, they look like I feel bad saying this. They look like Middle Easterns with makeup on their eyes.
Oh, who's that one guy who he's referred to as eyeliner guy from Lost?
Oh, yeah.
He's the
gosh.
mayor in
Richard.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, he's Richard
Yeah.
in Lost.
Yeah, because he doesn't actually wear eyeliner. He just has that naturally dark of eyelashes. Everybody thinks he wears eyeliner, but he doesn't. But that's like immediately who I pictured underneath those masks.
I love this. Even Gollum's like, "Are you guys crazy? You're not walking in there."
Yeah.
Oh man.
Um.
They do get to, I've seen this movie so many times. They get to the Black Gate really fast. Like they just like, here we are. They
Yeah.
literally have two scenes in the marshes. One where he falls in, and then one where they're hiding from the wraiths, and they have the two scenes where. So it's they move Sam and Frodo's journey along pretty quickly here. And because I think they needed to for pacing. If they dragged it out too long, it really wouldn't have. They needed to accelerate to get them to here where they have a moment where it's like a big moment, and then getting them where they run into Faramir and they get to Osgiliath. And I mean, they needed to accelerate all this to keep the pace up, because you just if you had made the trip through this last as long as it did in the book. Oh my goodness! It just would have dragged. It would have dragged the whole movie down.
Yeah, the pacing would have been just all off. It would have been terrible. And it seems like this, they also really helped to establish this relationship between Frodo and Smeagol, and the kind of adversarial nature of, Gollum and Sam, because they straight up said that the design was for these two to be the angel and the devil on Frodo's shoulder. Trying to get him to go the way that each of them wants him to go. Sam has his best interests in mind, while Gollum just has the ring in mind.
This is a great. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. It is. I mean, the relationship with the three of them is really good. I say this is, as much as this is obviously a set, it looks really good. I love the lighting. Good. The lighting is huge. I do like it because most of this
helps it,
Yeah, most of this is extended scene stuff, right? With them and
this is entirely extended.
Yeah, because the theatrical cut cuts out most of this.
I completely understand why this was cut. This is a fun scene that harkens back to a scene in the book. Also, it also goes back to another scene very similar to meeting Tom Bombadil in the first one,
Oh yeah, well
where
they
he
full on
saves
bring.
them from a tree that's giving them problems,
Yeah, I
and they
mean
actually just
they
take that scene and put it in here.
yeah, but to say they bring Oba and Willow, they literally give Treebeard some lines from Tom Bombadil.
Hmm. Yeah, which I didn't know. I mean, I'd read it, but I didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't know that that's what he's saying, that he's actually using Tom Bombadil's lines until I was studying for this.
They
Yeah,
explain
just
this so
imagine if the hobbits just kept drinking this water. Would they be like the size of normal humans, but with like stupid huge feet? Yeah. I think it's also just there to
that's
remind
great.
people just kind of how small the hobbits are, because we don't get to see the hobbits in conjunction with normal people very much in this movie versus the other movies. And so I think they needed to, the idea was to remind the audiences just how small hobbits are.
Sorry, I'm just enjoying this. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that the that them fighting over the water is kind of the catalyst for getting sucked into this willow tree.
The
It's
Willow
just
Tree's like,
fun.
I am a tired old man, and you kids are way too energetic, and you need to tone it down.
Yeah,
So
calm
that way I
down.
can be awake for tree bingo.
It's
Ugh,
like, I mean,
being
I mean,
crushed by trees.
oh man, it's a good scene though, as far as just the way that they built the sets to collapse on them, and just I mean, this is all done practically. There's very little CG happening here.
Yeah. The good tension also, like the music is surprisingly dense for this scene. Um, yeah.
Should not be waking
I
up.
was surprised at how quality this scene was.
Yeah. Dig deep, drink water, go to sleep.
Yeah, it's just like, dude, chill.
Yeah,
Stop eating hobbits, you dick.
the forest is waking up. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Like
I
this scene to me looks almost animatronic. Like
It
he
does
looks
almost,
almost
yeah.
stop motion, but in like a good way, I guess I would say.
He does. This is also like right here. I'm not sure if this is rear projection or if it's just. I think it's just green screen,
Yeah,
but
definitely green screen.
it is a little bit like. Did they feel disconnected from the background here? Just the way that it's shot. Just the movement doesn't feel
Yeah.
quite right. And again, I mean, I'm not trying to be overly critical or nitpicky, but this is like the
I am.
scenes where they're on him moving like this. This is where I'm a little bit like, yeah, they're just they look like they're in front of a screen.
Yeah, they're just hanging out on a rig on a green screen, and you know it, but you don't care because it's
Yeah,
fun.
it is fun and
Um,
it still looks good. And the speech pattern here and just the kind of getting to know each other and everything. It's still fun enough that you'll go with it.
yeah, and just like how incredibly fake the leaves are in the lower left hand. Like I know exactly where they got those fake leaves. They're from Hobby Lobby. You can go get some. They
Yeah.
glued on that, just like that's craft store props right there.
Yeah.
But you don't care because you're not looking directly at it. It's only if you're looking for it that you find the mistake or the
Yeah.
cheapness, I should say. But
Edoras.
Edoras, dude, they freaking built that thing. They
Yeah.
built the town.
Well, they built the top of it,
And
right? Like that wide shot, the lower around the hill is all added, but everything up top, what they built for real.
yeah, but you go and read the description of Edoras in the book, okay? It is Edoras. It's perfect. It's it's nuts how picture perfect Edoras is. To the book description. And they found the spot.
Oh yeah. Well, and,
And-
they also just found the
Yeah.
location that was perfect here because you're in the plain, but still with the mountains around, which is I mean they got the geography.
It's on the big rocky hill. You can see the mountains in the background, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I am
It's
constantly blown away. And it also has my single favorite piece of music from The Lord of the Rings. in this scene coming up here with the
the flag
single
tears.
out of tune violin.
Yeah, it's. Are you talking about when she walks out and the flag tears?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's
like
such a
oh.
beautiful piece of music. No, man,
So
he's
do you
so
think that
creepy.
it's supposed to? Do you think it's supposed to imply that he killed him, like he murdered him?
Um, no, I actually think I always took this, at least in the film, I always took this as he did die, but that Wormtongue just doesn't care, that it all just kind of goes along. Because I mean, he was in rough shape, and it's not like
Yeah,
they had healers here. They didn't have a wizard. They didn't have an elf. They didn't have any of your really high end
antibiotics.
healing races that were capable of bringing him back. I mean, maybe it's not like it would be a problem if he had, but I always just took it as no, he didn't make it, and he's just a disgusting, slimy dude who's making moves on royalty here, and
Yeah,
this is just man, she's
he's gross.
yeah. Can
He
you
makes me
imagine?
so uncomfortable, but that's also what Brad
Well,
Dourif
and they're
does
like
well.
right there. I mean, just like they got like that sweat weed or like whatever it is, like dripping like down his like bottom lip and like over his chin. It's just like I always think of like just trying to imagine what it would be like to kiss him. Oh man, it'd be nasty.
Is that
This
what
is
you're thinking about, Brian?
what I well, he's obviously thinking very rapey thoughts. Man, this though, this music cue is just yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you. This is my
Like
favorite in the whole trilogy.
we're gonna stay quiet for this because I just want to listen to this. Ah, so good. And there's extra symbolism going on here because that's the flag of the king. Okay? And it tears off, and where does it land? Right at Aragorn's feet. Like he's there's
It's a little on the nose, but it's
blatant
great.
filmography symbolism, but also if you know the books, there's blatant like he's the king that Rohan needs right now. And he's the one who leads them in the Battle of Helm's Deep. He's the one who takes care of them as they travel across Rohan to Helm's Deep and everything like that. It's just like it's so good.
Oh, it's just
I love it.
This whole town though too. I mean, this is just I love the design of the hall. The look of her and her white. Just up there at the top, and then the horse iconography and everything. Even the cross beams. At the top of the all the buildings. It's funny too. Aragorn's sword is amazing, but my favorite sword in this entire trilogy is actually Theoden's sword. I think it's just such a cool design where you have the horses, the horse heads, forming the hilt.
Yes,
so good.
It has a name. I'm looking this up. It's called Huergrim or Hurugrim because all of the swords have freaking names, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have a Hurugrim.
Part of old man for his walking stick.
So this guy, he sticks around, the little like steward of the king, whatever you want to call him here. They have him as kind of a lackey almost, but they have him in the third movie being like, oh, he's running away on the eve of battle and everything like that, right? And I don't know, it's just I don't know if he's supposed to be a good guy or a bad guy or just kind of an ass.
Yeah, I think he's just he's kind of there.
This is a really good but over the top rendition of like a longhouse. But as somebody who's not a big fan of Scandinavian stuff, I love the design. Also I love that Brad Dourif has this fake mole above his left eye that they added just to make him extra gross.
Oh yeah, he's gross. This whole like the way they set this up though too, which is kind of the them coming through that walking close up to to Wormtongue, and then just kind of showing, they kind of paroling as they're walking up, and they're kind of looking, all the guys are kind of, eyeing, checking each other out, like, all right, I'm, got my eye on you. And,
Yeah.
wait a minute, you didn't take away the wizard's staff.
Yeah, see, like, the one guy wants to go for his sword, and the dude's like, nah, let him cook.
Yeah, and that's where I really, you have to imagine that most of the people here do not like Wormtongue.
No. So the name Wormtongue, it's spelled Wyrm tongue, right? So it's not worm like a worm in the dirt. It's worm like a snake. And so it's like a snake tongue. And it's a blatant Tolkien, biblical reference, very much straight out of the Bible, and he's just the ultimate little villain, man.
Oh, this is good. Bernard Hill was so. I mean, they did not have a weak cast member in this because Bernard Hill is just great.
Well, they actually wanted Bernard Hill. He was one of the top considerations for Gandalf. And they really liked him and were having a hard time choosing between Ian McKellen and Bernard Hill. I
could totally, especially in this makeup where he looks a bit older, I could totally see him pulling Gandalf off, honestly.
Yeah. He impressed them enough that they were like, oh, you know what we can do? Because they were looking at going for somebody a little bit younger for Theoden. Somebody more in their 40s than somebody in their 60s.
Nice little transition there to Saruman.
Oh, great transition. And you even see he's got the bruise on his head from where he just whacked him with the staff.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Nice little...
Did you know that he was like a mentor-ish good guy character in The Scorpion King?
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. My God, that movie, not good, but fun.
Not a bad morphing scene there.
Yeah. Well, they actually used morphing, but it was also practical. They did 5 different shots of him in 5 different layers of makeup, and then used very basic morphing.
Well, and if you have
that's how you do it.
Real transitions, like if you have short enough transitions that you make it look great. This is, I think we talked about this a little bit, but this entire trilogy continues to be such an amazing example of how you mix practical and CG. We talked about other examples, and obviously, as much as I have my issues with the sequels, Force Awakens is also just a wonderful example of that from a visual point of view. But man, this trilogy, I think, because it doesn't take me out of the world. It might take me out of a scene once or twice just to have like a moment of like, okay, that's an effect.
You see, I always loved this little side guy's face as he's holding up that sword. It's that excitement, know?
Oh,
and he's
Gimli's like, you stay here,
unsung hero in the thing.
Yeah. The music gets in here. Miranda Otto's just like smile, like seeing her, it's this whole scene is just good. And then this transition, where you get the sword going past his face and the looking down, just like, oh crap, I am in so much trouble.
Yeah. I can't remember all of a sudden. When he escapes, does Gandalf say that he still has a part to play yet?
I think so.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was in here or not because it's in the book, and then he's not seen again until literally the last chapter of the whole book.
Yeah, where he kills...
second to last chapter of the whole book, and he's the one who kills Saruman.
Yeah. I appreciate though the continued spits like dude. Oh man, the continued theme that started with the conversation about Bilbo and Gollum, of just the idea that you don't need to act like the enemy. The idea of taking pity, of kind of letting that you're not vengeful. And it's interesting because this has been a theme in these kind of stories for how long. I mean, gosh, even in modern mythology, you can get into, why doesn't Batman just kill Joker? And that's just not what the good guys do. Yes, there are consequences to that. Yes, there are, it gets ridiculous in certain fiction, but you just
Yeah.
don't. Now, I do think that there's an interesting argument for like, why didn't they throw him in prison? But
Hmm.
yeah,
Well, they
but
don't have prisons. Prison
that
is
is true.
actually a fairly new concept historically.
Yeah. Well, you just like lock him up in the city square and you throw vegetables at him. You just let the kids entertain themselves for a while, right? They did that back then.
Yeah. Um, this scene is particularly legendary. I have known many people who like to quote Theoden about no parent should have to bury their child.
Yeah.
Not being a parent, I don't necessarily understand this. You having 3 children, you probably have far more of an emotional connection to that type of line.
But there's
But
it
yeah,
is though, but it does, it speaks to, there is a natural flow of life.
hmm
And it just, when it gets messed with, when it gets interrupted, it is obvious. And it is one of those things where just, yeah, no, kids are supposed to bury their parents. Like that is a natural progression. Like that is things, as much as it's sad, it's also it kind of expected. And like I say, it feels natural. When you reverse that process, it just is like kind of extra tragic in a way. And I just take it as simply as that. I mean, I've never, that's a good shot. Just the flower coming up right there, just a really
but
well
also
framed.
that cutoff has that distinct feeling of like this is being cut off the same way that his life has been cut off.
Yeah.
Um,
You know
but
what I,
apparently he actually specifically added the line of no parent should have to bury their child. He got it from a woman who he met, whose son had just died. And she said something extremely similar to him, and it stuck with him his whole life that he recommended it to Peter Jackson to allow him to say a line something like that.
mm, I was gonna say, oh, yeah, and he delivers it very, very well. The other thing, I was just thinking about this. I mean, we talked about this a little bit when we were recording, some of the various Star Trek films in the last 2 years. There is a theatrical quality to the type of acting that most of these actors are doing, and it's something that I always liked about the Star Treks that I enjoy the most. That you've got a lot
Mm-hmm.
of stage actors, where most of the actors came from, with stage backgrounds, and a lot of these actors had that also. That there is just
Mm-hmm.
a method of acting, a method of delivering lines that is a little more theatrical versus, I've been in front of a camera my whole life type acting. And
Yeah.
I think that a story like this, and I think I mean, I'm not saying that Star Trek and Lord of the Rings are like the same by any means. They're very different, but they both have thematic elements that are very kind of old, like Shakespearean elements, old story elements to them. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's just a way that those type of actors deliver lines in those kind of
Oh
stories
yeah.
that it just helps a little bit. And I mean, I think like that whole sequence right there, and Bernard Hill is very much, you can tell he's a stage actor.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
just
They
little mini rabbit hole there.
Yeah, see, right there. That's the last time in the entirety of The Lord of the Rings in which two female characters interact.
Well,
It's the little girl, where's Mama?
Tolkien,
Um,
he wrote to what he knew.
but I never picked up on this, okay? That scene, he reaches forward and puts his hand on the side of the throne, and Theoden looks down at the hand, and you see this shadow over his face, because that's how Wormtongue would talk to him on the throne, with his hand
Mm,
in that exact same spot. And so it rejects what Gandalf tells him to do because he's too used to somebody trying to manipulate him from that spot with that exact same pose. I never picked up on that little scene of him looking down at Gandalf's hand with that scowl coming across his face.
I
He's very good.
yeah, I have to admit, I hadn't actually thought of that till you. I'm literally thinking about that
Mhm.
for the first time. That's really interesting. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
totally right.
And you're
Good
seeing
boy.
that a little bit more here because they have the scene where everybody kneels to Theoden, and Aragorn is the last one to kneel. And he knows that this is the king of Gondor because he's known Aragorn for like 60 years. He knows exactly what's going on there. And so he feels challenged. He's lost his son. Everything's falling apart. Now he feels like his rule is being circumvented by these people. And it's really subtly done. Even, and I don't know, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Oh, it is good.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that until you're just literally saying it now, but I see it, and that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Fear for his family.
Um,
Now,
this whole
go ahead.
it's just good. I like it.
Yeah. The idea here too that like everyone knows that like Theoden is, Theoden is a very capable king, but he's going to need, I think, to maybe, or Gandalf recognizes here that Aragorn will be in a better position to give Theoden advice than he would by staying.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean,
That
I'm
little
not
line,
entirely sure.
300 lives of men, and now it's just like, I feel as though I have no time. And I don't know. I love I love screwing around in my head with the concept of immortality. And just thinking about somebody who might have been around that long, or like an elf, like Legolas, right? And so now suddenly, very suddenly, they gotta haul ass, or
Yeah.
everything's gonna
They
go to
haven't
hell.
they haven't had to worry about being in a hurry. Well, and like how,
Right?
if you haven't had to, because I mean, if you were alive that long, it would change your like the fundamental perspective on things would change about so many things, and to all of a sudden have to adjust to like no, you literally have to get this done in like 3 days or else everybody's going to die. Like, I mean, 3 days, that's nothing. That's just I'm used to having years. And I mean, I think this is actually where the book almost gains a lot because of the acceleration of how much time goes by. Because you have the beginning, you have Frodo taken 17 years to leave the Shire, and then he camps at Rivendell for a couple months, while they make sure the ring wraiths are actually gone before they set out. But then the timeline starts crunching and crunching and crunching, and it works really well. By the time you get to this point where it's like, no, we got to go, like we are in
Mm.
trouble. It kind of adds like there's a ratcheting up of the that sense of we don't have time to sit around and wait anymore, that the
Yeah.
books kind of have. That, I mean, not that the movie suffers from a lack of momentum. The movies are very good at that, but the books,
Yeah.
if you kind of take them at face value, almost get more benefit because of how long things take in the beginning.
Mm. So here we have this establishing of a relationship between Eowyn and Aragorn. And it's like, it's not really a relationship. It's very much a one-sided thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's kind of great because you see that he is everything she would want in a man, like instantly. It
Yeah.
just takes that one scene and she's smitten. And I think it's great. It's that tough guy who's also gentle and good with animals.
Although
it's done so well.
if you actually, she would have met him before, right?
I don't know. She's supposed to be fairly young. She's only supposed to be like in her 20s
Mm.
at best.
And
Like
Aragorn
early
hasn't
20s?
hasn't been to Rohan in a long time.
Yeah. He's
'Cause, I mean,
been
later,
mainly in the north and the west.
yeah, because I mean, later, when she feeds him a disgusting stew, he talks about the fact that he like knew her grandpa basically, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, they did such a good job with his makeup. Of just they keep him like, is he just perpetually sweating or like what's going on? Because he's just always wet.
Right? He's so greasy.
And see, that's where I almost feel like, and again, Gollum is such an achievement in this film, but I feel like Gollum should have had a little bit more of that going on all the time. Just always looking a little bit like Gollum looks almost like dry at times, like
I don't know.
almost
I
dried
actually
out.
kind of like the dryness better. I think that he would look a little bit too cartoony. Um,
Yeah.
I think that he'd look a little bit too cartoony.
Well, and I think that if you could do it perfectly, like I think that CG at this level, they probably needed to make him a little more dry to make the textures work. If Because I think that if you tried to make him look wet all the time, it would just, as good as the CG was, it still would have struggled to get it just perfect. But
Yeah.
we got a little
So also, I wanted to
little
mention the
sword kind
ring
of scene.
that Wormtongue,
Go ahead.
the ring that Wormtongue describes in that last scene is um it is actually from the book. Aragorn does actually wear it, and it is kind of his like one really nice thing that stands out. But this is
That is a good
this
line,
is
by the way. I really enjoyed the line of just, even those without swords can still die by them.
yeah.
It's a
No,
really
I wholeheartedly agree.
yeah, it's a succinct way to state something very, very true, especially of this, the more primitive cultures that just like, nope, there's the people who are going to come to us. There's no rules. There's no like, oh, well, they're going to be nice to the women and children. Like, that's not how it went. If anything, you would have
Especially
been
the
better off
Scandinavians.
dying. Yeah, I'm about to say, you actually would probably be much happier dying in battle than surviving it back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they really needed this. Eowyn is not a super well-rounded character. She's not a forefront character in the books. And I think that it was a really good idea for them to turn her into this major character. And it gives the audience, it gives the audience this kind of vulnerable character to latch onto and watch grow. That's more than just a hobbit.
Yeah, absolutely. Ah, I love this.
Yeah, this is a good one as well.
Again,
It
it's a way
really
to do.
helps to establish the villains and make
Well, they're
because one of the problems with Lord of the Rings is that the villains aren't front and center very much. It's
no.
more about the adventure and the journey, and the movies do a very good job at showing villainy and making them hateable. The Wards.
This guy, he's got like the I love like the metal staple across his forehead and just the scars. I mean, the behind the scenes of this, watching Andy Serkis throw himself down this river, it's just like
Yeah.
commitment,
He had
because
to do
that
it
was
so
cold
many
water.
times, and it was so cold.
Yeah, his big white onesie.
Right?
Oh, a guy is committed
Dude.
to his craft.
And poor frickin' Sam. Like, Sam is 100% in the right in this situation. But at the same time, people want to see the best in others. They want to think that a character like Smeagol here can be redeemed. And maybe he could have at this point before he's abused by the Gondorians. But he Sam is at the end of this correct, but he also looks like an ass.
It's
And it makes me sad every time.
Yeah. Well, I think because the audience knows, like, this is where I think you actually benefit from the audience understanding, but still sympathizing with it's part of life that the pragmatic, realistic answer so often is one that we just don't like. And Sam here
Yeah.
is just being like, hey, this is the way it is. But we don't like that truth. And I think that's a concept that people can relate to. And it's played so well here.
Well, even
also,
like if you, yeah.
I was going to say Sean Astin. I really want to compliment his acting in several of these moments here too, because he walks that line of, even though you agree with Sam, you can kind of see that he's emotionally entangled, where you could imagine where Frodo would kind of look at him and be like, well, you're just, you're just pissed off, or you're just, you don't like him, or, he embarrassed you, or, there's Sam, Sean Astin really hits that balance well, where you can see both points of view, if that makes sense.
Hmm. No, I could see it. And I think that it's also for the people who don't know how it's going to end, right? They're watching the movie and they're expecting a big moment of redemption for Smeagol. Um, where he's going to be like the tragic hero at the end of it, who, you know, he's the optimism is going to win out in the end, and he's going to go out in a blaze of self-sacrificial glory, which isn't what happens.
No.
He has these moments of hope, but at the end of the day, that hope is betrayed, and he is the villain at the end. He's the struggle at the very finale. And this is establishing that in such a heartbreaking way.
But also, yeah,
And it's
is.
rare that you get that, especially these days when everybody wants to be kind of nobody's beyond redemption, especially these poor addicts, and so on. And it's not something that somebody would write and get away with today.
Yeah. Well, because even, I mean, there's, is really to me just is reinforcing the nature of the ring, that the ring is not just a MacGuffin, that this is what makes, this is the kind of stuff that makes the ring, not just that this is what it's done. And the idea
Mm-hmm.
that Gollum is so gone. And I mean, you can even take that as far as, without Sam there, at least the way the movie presents it, Frodo wouldn't have gotten rid of it either. By the time he gets there, Frodo wasn't able to save himself. And it's,
Oh,
there's, it makes the ring more potent, and more of a threat that had to be taken care of. The idea that even as is presented, that Gollum couldn't be saved, and even as good as Frodo has shown, that at the end of the day, even he couldn't give it up. That there's just, I mean, it's just it's well done, and I think that it's braver than a lot of modern stories would be willing to go to, like you were talking about earlier. That just, a modern story wouldn't be able to get away with it. This whole scene, and Elijah Wood, he manages to look so just like kind of sick and tired, and just like, I don't know, he just, the look on his face they managed to get was so perfect, just to communicate that
mm-hmm.
he is not feeling
Yeah.
good. He is tired. And then the cry of Gollum, like, "What are you doing to my food?"
Yeah.
It's so good. Oh, this whole
So
scene.
a lot of this scene is actually from the book. And one of my favorite things that they do in the entirety of these movies is coming up to this. Like, they have the bickering about the potatoes and the rabbits and everything. The Gollum did with Sam.
His little spit right there, just the like, just like.
It looks so real too,
Oh man. Well, this is like, this is also the fact that this is one of the best moments where, like, Sam and Gollum are just kind of talking. There's not this, even though they're arguing, they're kind of arguing in that way that you can imagine, like, people who kind of like each other arguing would be. It's just like one of the few moments of lightheartedness between those two characters, which makes it that much more
Yeah.
enduring.
And it does, this movie obviously has a lot of time to develop things, especially extended editions here. So it does the service to us of giving each of these characters time to interact, time to have a relationship develop between them, which most other movies don't have that time. And it looks right,
Yeah.
It really gives everything the further gut punch down the road that it needs to have.
Yeah. Well, this is
Um,
almost the perfect balance between, you don't need a full, like, TV series to develop, everything, but sometimes having, this is a good example
Yeah.
of when you do need a movie that's longer than an hour and a half.
Yeah. Just turning this into 2 movies like they had originally planned on
Oh,
would just have
you
been a
you would have
crapshoot.
had to cut out so much. This is another shot where the compositing is a little bit like right there when it's looking, looking over them from the back. It's a little bit
Yeah.
like they're looking at a green screen. Um, it's
Oh
it,
man, the
it, it, it
Olivants.
it's so hard, man. They look good though. No one
They
at
do.
home will believe this. Uh,
Because Sam actually like recites this poem about elephants, and because he's so excited to see the elephants in the books, he's giddy. Um, and
well, Sam
they
plays
the
in a lot of
ambush.
ways. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say Sam in a lot of ways is almost like the audience surrogate for a lot of this stuff, as the guy who's just like, "Would you look at that? Check that out. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Never seen this before." Which is
very true.
who he is in the book, but he also kind of is a little
Mhm.
bit of for the audience there when it comes to the writing method. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say the ambush is also present. It looks different, but it is present in the book. And it has this scene where this guy dies and he falls right in front of Sam. And it's the first time that Sam has seen battle where he's seen the death of another human or another non-orc. And he has these inner thoughts that are very profound. And it's one of those things that you wouldn't be able to have in a movie, but they actually use it. They give the inner monologue of Sam as lines to Faramir right here. Like he turns and there's this dead Easterling, and these lines here are straight from the book, but they were Sam's inner thoughts, but they're so good that you can't leave them out.
Yeah. Well, there's multiple times where these films do that, where they're like, well, we've changed the story, so we can't have it be exactly in the book, but that chunk of dialogue is so good that we got to find somewhere to put it in. And there's multiple examples that I'm so glad that they did that, because it's like, don't try to improve on this line. This line's really good. Just find a way to get it in,
Mhm.
make it work for when you do, and it's going to be great. And I'm glad they do that.
Mhm. Yeah. Now we are coming up here. We're going to go ahead and pause it. This is where we're going to be doing the break today. This is where the DVD ended back in the day, and this is where we're going to be ending it for tonight. This, for those of you who are unsure, it is that transition from Faramir's men grabbing Frodo and Sam to the
Rohirrians?
Rohanians? Rohans?
Rohirrians.
Rohirrans?
Rohirrians or Rohirrians? I don't know.
Um,
Rohirrians. I think
they're
it's
just
the Rohirrians.
Rohans. They're just Rohan.
They're just
Kind of like
Rohans.
moose. No S, just Rohan. Look at all those Rohan over there. Walking on this great vista with Miranda Otto's Eowyn. So approximately, 1 hour 46 minutes in, essentially.
Yeah,
And
but
it's the right place to stop. Have any
it
final
is.
thoughts you'd like to share, Brian?
Oh, it's just great. This is we talked about this at the beginning of Fellowship. It's always hard to like say anything new or fresh about movies that have been so analyzed as these have. But I just love these movies so much that I enjoy watching them with you and just talking with them, talking with you about them, and people who are listening. I'm glad that you're here and just enjoying. I certainly hope you're taking the excuse to watch these again, or even if you're listening to us and playing these movies in your head, which I imagine a lot of you would be able to do. That's fine also. But yeah, this is middle chapters are hard to do, but
Mm.
when you nail a middle chapter, there's something special about it. There's a reason you talk about, you know, Empire Strikes Back and Godfather Part Two, and and this and Two Towers. It's just being fantastic middle chapters. 'Cause when you get it right, you get that connective tissue between the setup and the finale of the bigger story. It's so good, and this is a great
Looks so man.
example of it done very, very well.
Very well. And I will admit, the extended edition just makes it so much better. And
Yes.
it's really hard to sell this movie to people on the unextended edition. But we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. We just love these movies, and we're just going to gush about them. And I'll try and point out bad things more in the next one. 'cause we must.
Yeah, I feel like it's we need to be honest when there are little issues, and I think that we've been honest about that. But I also think that these just are great, and
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if we had anybody tuning in to hear us rip these apart, because I don't know, who are you, and what's wrong with you. Anyways, no, we will look forward to finishing this up next week. Please join us then.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
There's doors and corners, kid. If you don't clear the room, if you don't come in slow,